What is up, Storm Chasers? We got to get into this Wendy Williams exclusive, and it is a lot more tragic than what you may even realize. Now, okay, as you guys know, a few days ago, Wendy Williams went on her media tour. She started with the Breakfast Club over there with Charlemagne. That was a long-awaited reunion, even though they've been in contact way before they actually got on air together. She ended up doing an interview with Hollywood Unlocked, as well as an interview with Don Lemon, and basically she is going on this tour to let the public know that she is being held against her will in this conservatorship. She should not be up under a conservatorship. Ain't nothing wrong with her. And essentially, she feels like she's in jail. And from what I've been told, that's absolutely the truth. They were not lying over there on the Breakfast Club when they said that Wendy is being held in a memory care facility up in New York. If you have ever had a loved one or a relative or a friend of the family in one of those facilities, you already know that it's very hard to have access to your loved one once you sign them over. Like, even though your family, even though you're on the designated contact list, you still get to run around to see your own relatives as well. But I need to get into the truth about what was going on over there on Wendy's show before it went off air, as well as her marriage and what was being done to Wendy on set at the Wendy Williams show by production. Okay, so the truth is, what you guys should know is that Wendy Williams no longer wanted the show. She no longer wanted to be on TV, and that she actually wanted to go back to radio. So Wendy's plan, especially when she was divorcing Kevin, was to divorce Kevin and then quit the show, stay out of work for about 12 to 18 months, and then go and do a radio show with Sirius XM. She was going to have a whole deal over there. She had been in talks with Sirius XM on her own, which was a big deal to her because normally those kinds of things Kevin handled all that. Kevin handled everything. To be very frank, on one hand, Kevin was her bodyguard and he was her physical protection, but then on the other hand, he isolated her from everybody, ruined a bunch of opportunities, and kept her imprisoned. Now when I even think back to when she would talk about her own life on the show, her life basically consisted of going to work, right, going back home, going in the house, shutting the blinds, getting something to eat, putting on Lifetime, and that was what she would do. And she would always joke about that, but we didn't realize that, like, she really didn't have no friends for real, and she really didn't go nowhere because Kevin didn't let her. And it was just a crazy situation. But anyway, when Wendy was close to divorcing his ass, her whole plan to try to get out of paying him any money, any alimony, anything, okay? Because Wendy did not want to take care of him and that mistress. And Wendy had decided years before that, which we'll get to in a minute, she had just decided she was not going to take care of him for the rest of his life and take care of that mistress for the rest of his life. And then, of course, once the baby came, baby Journey, that was just a knife in Wendy's heart. So, like I said, the plan was to divorce Kevin, then quit the television show, stay out of work for 18 months, and then go to her Sirius XM deal. That's just what it was. But Kevin caught wind of what she was trying to do. And it's unfortunate that he caught wind. I mean, I don't know who told him, but hey, the industry is small. It is what it is, right? And of course, like, think about if Wendy's plan had actually worked and she wasn't on TV, she was just on radio, back on radio doing her thing, and all of this Diddy stuff is popping off right now. She would literally be killing it because that was Wendy. So Kevin, once he caught wind of this, actually held several secret meetings, right? And I say secret because most of the meetings that Kevin would have with production or have with the network or have with her bank or have with anybody that she did any kind of business with, Wendy was not involved anyway. Wendy was so far removed from what was like going on in her life, it was ridiculous. Her job was to just show up to work, do as she was told, and just make the money, to basically be a workhorse. Anyway, Kevin had secret meetings with production, told them Wendy's plan to quit the show and to go back to radio, and everybody, and I mean Kevin, production, as well as Wells Fargo Bank, they figure out a way to put and lock Wendy into a conservatorship. Now, the plan was to, of course, keep Wendy medicated, but keep her just medicated enough to where she could just work and then they could still be in control of her, if that makes sense. I know this sounds crazy, but the best example of this, from what my source is telling me, is think about Britney Spears. Britney Spears was declared mentally incapacitated. Britney Spears was locked into this conservatorship where she couldn't do anything. She was monitored 24/7. As a matter of fact, Britney's dad even had cameras in Britney's hotel room. So he was probably watching her get down with her boyfriend. Anyway, I say all this to say everybody was in control of Britney, but Britney still had to get on that stage and work 5 to 6, 7 days a week out there in Vegas. So I don't understand how somebody can be mentally incapacitated and can't take care of themselves and can't sign for themselves and can't be in control of themselves, but they could be in control of themselves enough to get on stage and make money for everybody else. Okay. This very same thing almost happened to Kanye West. And another good example of another celebrity that escaped this conservatorship type situation was, of course, Mariah Carey, and how Tommy Mottola tried to do her. So in this industry, this is what the source is telling me. In this industry, when you don't want to play the game anymore, when you don't want to work anymore, when you want out of your contracts, this industry will find a way to ruin you. And it's not just necessarily like taking your life, you having a mysterious accident or self-deleting yourself. But a lot of times it's about just ruining your name as a person, ruining your public reputation, or putting you in some type of conservatorship. And another example of this is Dave Chappelle. When Dave Chappelle no longer wanted to do his show with Comedy Central, they literally turned the media against him. And by they, I mean powers that be. By powers that be, I guess you can call that the Illuminati.
I mean, it's fun and all these things, but there's a tremendous amount of work.
People were saying, though, that you were on drugs, you lost your mind, you went into a mental institution. What is true? What is not?
Not on drugs.
Not on drugs.
I really don't know, but I just say they as a reference to the industry. So anyway, as y'all, like I said before, Dave Chappelle said, I don't want to do this shit no more. I don't want to sign that contract. That contract ain't no good. But before we knew it, you know, the media was telling us that Dave Chappelle lost his mind. He turned down $50 million when we didn't even know he really should have been paid $500 million. Anyway, with that being said, when you go against what this industry wants you to do, they will make it their business to ruin you. Another example of that is Martin Lawrence. If y'all remember back in the early 2000s, when he had that mysterious heat stroke, when he was running through New York City, in the summertime, in sweats, the sweat from head to toe, running for his life, talking about they trying to kill me.
What is happening in Hollywood? That a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me.
Only for him to be put in the hospital and then get back to work because now he's fine and he's okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see a pattern? You know, whenever you go against what they want you to do, you have to pay consequences. And you guys should also know that sometimes, you know, if they don't like lock you away in a facility, you would get visited by people that are called the brown suits. So literally, like, someone comes to your door, a group of people come to your door, they're in suits, and you have to pretty much do what they say. Another example of this is think about Ellen DeGeneres and Anne Heche. Right. Remember when Anne Heche did that interview about Ellen, and she said that one time she went to lunch with Ellen DeGeneres, and it was some people in suits there, and Ellen told her to just be quiet and to literally do what they say. This game ain't no it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. I'm telling you that. Now, anyway, let's get into the good stuff, okay? The main reason for this video today is because you guys need to know, and this is my exclusive source telling me that on the set of the television show, Wendy was actually being drugged. And when Wendy was being drugged, she was being drugged through her teeth. Okay. If you guys remember, every single day, well, Monday through Friday, and well, actually the show taped Monday through Thursday, and they did the Thursday and Friday show on Thursday. So anyway, 5 tapings a week. Every single taping, she always had what? Her cup. What was in her cup? Her tea. Now, a lot of the audience and the public assumed she was putting some whiskey in there. She had liquor. Sometimes it was wine. No, baby. It was tea. It was tea. And even though she put her own tea bag in there and she would drop her own cough drop in there, she was not the one heating up the water and bringing it to the actual desk. So whoever was in charge of her hot water to be there ready for her to dip her tea bag in, that's probably who y'all need to look at. I can't say no names, but that's all I can say is that she was literally being drugged through her tea that she drank every single day. Okay, whatever they was dropping in there to drug Wendy, to make her look loopy, to make her seem loopy and delirious, so she could eventually be pushed into a conservatorship, actually started to like. She started to have negative effects with it. Okay, the reason why her lymphedema started to act up was because of what she was being drugged with. When Wendy was falling over the chair and calling out to her mom, even after her mom had died, she was being drugged. She was being drugged, but she didn't. Of course, she didn't know it. She wasn't aware of it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been drinking out of that cup. Now, what they drugged her with, what was the dosage? I don't know. Just know there are many different ways to drug people. And in this industry, they have them. Okay? Even if you remember what was going on with Diddy in the baby oil, Diddy put the GHB in the baby oil. So imagine going to a party and you saying, I ain't drinking none, I ain't eating none, y'all ain't finna get me, I ain't even gonna have a bottle of water, because of course you can stick a needle and stick some shit through the water bottle and you won't even be able to tell. Oh, well, guess what? They're gonna get you with a massage and they're gonna put that oil on your skin and them drugs gonna seep right into your system. I'm just saying, don't underestimate what they have access to in this industry is really all I can say. So with that being said, she started to exhibit more and more erratic behavior on air. People thought she was drunk. People thought that maybe she was back using drugs. Her lymphedema continued to act up, but it was all a plot between Kevin Hunter, production, and of course the bank Wells Fargo to eventually lock Wendy in a conservatorship, and to make her look crazy. Just it is what it is. You guys should also know that, remember that incident of Wendy like passing out on TV and shit? That was because of what they were drugging her with. Wendy says it was not a stunt. It was not a stunt. That was not planned. But whatever they was drugging her with that day, that shit had an adverse effect, and she just passed out of nowhere. And when you really think about it, this shit makes sense. Anyway, with that being said, at some point, Kevin was kicked out of this plan to put Wendy in this conservatorship. So think about who was all involved with this. Production, and by production, I mean production / the network, right? Wells Fargo, and then, of course, Kevin. But Kevin got kicked out the circle. Kevin got kicked out the circle, and then the white folks took over. And from what my source is telling me, it's not even just that the white folks took over, is that them people are going to always stick together. Wink, wink. So you put together what and who them people is.
I'm not going to say what race, what people, doctor, and what hospital, and what media went to.
That's all I can say. Now, like I said, the plan was for Wendy to be put in a conservatorship, be medicated, but be medicated enough to be able to come back to work and do her job. Okay, the network was going to use Wendy until they could no longer use her, and then she was going to mysteriously get deleted in some kind of accident or a fake self-deletion. That's another thing in this industry too. The way that the deaths, the way that the deletions happen, not only are they ritualistic, but a lot of times they're planned. And the best case I can think of is Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, Bobby Christina, Nick. Just think of all the celebrities that die in hotels and mysteriously die in tubs. This shit is not by coincidence. It's very much planned out. Okay. Now, also keep in mind too, whenever Wendy would visit her son in Miami, all of a sudden she would start to look better, feel better. She would be good. But then whenever she would go back to New York, she would start to break back down and start to essentially like revert. in her health and in her behavior because she was being drugged. And whoever was working around Wendy on her staff, I don't mean just her staff at work, I mean like her personal staff at her apartment, all of them bitches is suspicious. Now, I know they all like been let go, fired, quit, whatever now, but everybody that was around Wendy around the time of the show ending and the conservatorship and the ending of the divorce, they were paid to essentially control her. So this is a case of someone who not only has a handler in this industry, but many handlers. It is what it is. Now, as far as her marriage to Kevin, you guys should also know that Wendy has actually been planning to divorce Kevin since 2012. And I believe it didn't get final until 2020. It wasn't 22. I believe their divorce was final in 2020. But Wendy knew and Wendy planned on divorcing Kevin since 2012. Okay. And she planned to do it because she just got tired of him cheating. She got tired of taking care of him and his mistress. And she was determined to not have to take care of him and Sharina for the rest of her life. She did not want to do that. And then, of course, once the baby came along, that absolutely broke Wendy and was like a knife in her heart. So she knew she had to be strategic with leaving him because of who he was and because of who he is. And to be honest, is Wendy scared of Kevin? Yeah, she's scared of what he would do to her. Absolutely. But she had to be very strategic in how she got out of this, but nothing got past Kevin. And of course, he found out the plot. Some of the arguments between Kevin and production, like what was shown in the movie, in the Lifetime movie, some of those arguments were staged, and they were staged to make Wendy believe that that Kevin didn't fuck with production like that, and they didn't like him, but they were actually in cahoots. Does that make sense? So was there a conflict? Yes. Did Kevin, come in there on some bully shit and give bully energy? Yes. But some of those fights, some of those explosions, especially the ones that were re-dramatized in the movie or whatever, some of that was fake. Some of that was staged, baby. Wendy didn't know, but some of that was staged so that Wendy wouldn't know that they were in cahoots with one another. What else? Now, I also wanted to take you guys to remember when Wendy was put in rehab, right? And Kevin acted like, he was just so concerned, and we're gonna put her in rehab, and she's back drinking. And then it was photos of her outside of the rehab with like a bottle, or I believe one photo she was even like in a wheelchair. All of that was bullshit. Wendy never needed to go to rehab. She did not relapse. She did not start back drinking. Once again, she was being drugged at work, which caused her to lose her mind, which caused her to have all these other health ailments, and she had no clue what was going on. But Kevin and production wanted her to get locked up in a facility at least twice in a 12-month calendar year so that she would qualify to be put in a conservatorship. So it was all a plot that Todd set up, baby. It was all a scheme that Todd set up with bullshit, okay? Kevin also was able to get Wells Fargo on board with locking Wendy in a conservatorship and locking out of her own accounts. And we're talking about 70 million plus. Now, from what my source is telling me, Wendy actually had way more money than 70 million. What she might have had just in dollars was one thing, but after her homes, assets, stocks, bonds, all of that shit was sold, it was like hundreds of millions that was at stake. So, I don't know why she kept all of her money in Wells Fargo, but maybe all of it was there. So anyway, Kevin was cool, quote unquote, with the lady who was in charge of handling Wendy's finances. So I'm assuming it's the lady that was in charge before the conservatorship. I'm not sure what the timeline is, but just know that Kevin was very chummy with the finance advisors at Wells Fargo, and he was the one that got them on board with locking her in the shit. He was the one that was telling them that, hey, she's out of control. She's back using drugs. She's drinking like crazy. She's going to be taking advantage of you. You can't trust her with her own money, etc., etc., etc. And we already know how that went down after that. But you guys should know that the bank, the production/network, and Kevin are to blame for the situation that Wendy has found herself in. I know a lot of y'all did not like the Lifetime documentary, and thought that it put Wendy in a bad light, but it was actually good because it showed how she was being treated and it showed her mistreatment. And I think that Lifetime documentary is actually going to end up working to her benefit. Lastly, some last notes from my source. You guys should absolutely know that Wendy's life is in danger. She's not safe. Okay. And now that Wendy is speaking out, this case is getting national attention. I can't say that anything is going to happen to Wendy, and I'm not going to speak that on her. But what I will say is that her niece needs to make sure she stays in communication. No matter what, somebody from the family should be in communication with Wendy every single day. Like, call that phone every day. Like, don't let a week go by. Don't let 2 weeks go by where you don't have no contact with Wendy. And if for whatever reason she stopped answering that phone, I don't even know if she has her own cell phone or if it's a phone in the room that she's locked in. I don't know. But I'm just saying to the family, y'all need to be talking to her every single day. Do not let a day go by without it. And if you cannot get in contact with her, then you need to literally go up to the facility and demand to see her and to lay eyes on her to make sure that she is still alive. Just it is what it is. Last but not least, I did want to give you guys this bit of tea on this Wendy situation too. Sherri Shepherd, as you guys know, was brought in to replace Wendy, and now it's the Sherri Shepherd show. But behind the scenes, Sherri is called Wendy Light. Sherri Shepherd's whole show is just Wendy Williams, but a lighter version because she's not Wendy at the end of the day. So I just think it's a slap in Wendy's face. And actually, my source told me that the network was being petty by giving Sherri this kind of show. They brought Sherri in to do Wendy, but nobody can do Wendy like Wendy. They didn't even give Sherri her own concept. Like, the colors are damn near similar. Like, it don't even feel like the Sherri Shepherd show. It feels like Sherri is guest hosting for Wendy until she comes back. That's pretty much how it is. So you guys should also know that in that conservatorship trial a few years back, Wendy had no representation. So if there's any legalities that can get Wendy out of this shit, you guys just need to know that Wendy herself had no representation. She also was not even present for the trial, for the conservatorship, for the judge to lay eyes on her and, and for her to even to be able to defend herself. So it is what it is. But this was a plot that Kevin Hunter in production and Wells Fargo set up to lock Wendy in a conservatorship so that she could continue to make the network money. Kevin was still going to remain in control of everything. And, and that's just what it is. Wendy Williams has been nothing more. She's been nothing more but a workhorse to everybody her whole life. And it's no different than Britney Spears situation, Justin Bieber situation, Dave Chappelle situation, Kanye West. And the only celebrity that really was able to skirt around this kind of shit was Mariah Carey, and to be able to also, keep her wealth as well. So anyway, that's my exclusive. She was being drugged. Wendy was being drugged the whole entire time. So when you think to yourself that something sounds nefarious in the situation, I'm here to let you know you're not tripping. This is actually some dirty, grimy, schemy shit. Blame the Illuminati, blame the powers that be, whatever you want to call it. All I know is the more and more I learn about this industry, the more and more that this shit is just scary. So let me know down below. Do you believe it? Or do you believe that Wendy just needs to be locked up? Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you care, and I will catch you all later.
It's Storm Show. Ay, it's Storm.